Greetings. I wanted to share something that I discovered a while ago, and I keep forgetting to share. Those of you in the tarot community probably recognize the name Arwen Lynch, who is a very respected tarot reader and author of tarot decks. I don't know how many, one or so, two, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I've been watching her for a long time, and she's fun. She's a lot of fun. And I discovered on her website, tarotbyarwen.com, she has something which she refers to as tarot in 9 words. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't really know exactly what started this, gave her the idea, where they came from. But she has gone through, I believe she's done the whole major arcana, I'm not sure. But she has gone through, in order to just give some insights into the cards, some fresh eyes into the cards. She does an exercise which she calls tarot in 9 words. And I think what she does is she just looks at the image in the card. She tries to kind of forget the meaning, tries to just forget the meaning, what she knows of the card. She, of course, knows the meaning, what the card means to her. But just completely disregards any preconceived notions about the card. She looks at it with fresh eyes, and she looks at the image in the card, and she comes up with 9 words, 9 things that she sees, 9 things that stick out to her in a card. And that maybe she hasn't noticed before, or I don't know, something. But it can only be 9. It's 9 words, limiting yourself to 9 words. And then she uses those 9 words to come up with some kind of a poem. And I know what it is like to try to force poetry. I want to say this. I have written some poetry in my life. I've written a good bit, but I've written a lot of song lyrics. I'm a pretty practiced lyricist. But in the SCA, I've written I don't know how many poems that were they were forced. In other words, we had a booklet, a little booklet was published twice a year in the SCA, twice a year in our kingdom, when we had the tournament to determine who the next king would be for 6 months. That's how it works. There was a tournament that decided, elimination tournament, 1 man, 2 men, one against the other, and whoever won each round would go on to the next. The winners would go on until there was only one left, one winner for the day, and that person would become king and reign for 6 months. At which time a new person would become the new prince and would take over as king. That's just the way it was structured. And excuse me, in our kingdom, in order to showcase those fighters who work so very hard, they do so much training. This is very skilled. It's very skilled fighting in the SCA that they use. They practice for a really long time, and they take it quite seriously. In order to showcase everybody, because only one person can win, any person who fought in Crown Tourney that day was assigned to someone to write a poem, hopefully a poem of praise for that person. And then that was published in a little booklet every coronation. The books were there available for people. A fighter poem for every fighter that fought, which is really lovely. I have a lot of them, and I don't know how many poems I wrote, quite a lot, twice a year for years and years. And some years I think I wrote more than one poem. Yes, I did. Some years some crown journeys I wrote more than one because there wasn't enough people writing poems. But at any rate, we were allowed to use any form, of course, of poetry that we wanted. And of course, I chose to use a period form of poetry, something that would have been found, using the form that would have been found in history at the time, hopefully at the time, having to do with the fighter's persona. And that way I familiarized myself with many forms of poetry, medieval forms of poetry, which is quite nice. But of course, some other people would do things like they might do a haiku, or they might do a limerick, or they might do, just a regular ballad or something like that. That's fine. It wasn't about that, but it was, for me, it was a way, because I would be assigned a fighter, and I usually would see that fighter fight, but often I didn't know much about the fighter, so to get enough subject matter, and some of these people only fought, they maybe fought twice. If they lost 2 times, they were out of the tournament. So there wasn't really a lot of material for some of these fighters, some of the, ones that were eliminated early. And so some of those poems were a little bit tricky to come up with, to stay in the style and to come up with something that was, flattering, and also that was going to be published that people were going to read in the time allotted before a coronation. It had to be published at a certain date, deadline to get it off to print. So talk about writing under pressure. That was something that I had to do. And it was kind of difficult to do, but I can tell you by doing that exercise, I became very free. Any writer will tell you the hardest part about writing is writing. It's actually putting words on a paper. So many people say they have writer's block, where they sit and they're trying to write a novel and they don't have the words. They have the words. They just are afraid to put the wrong words on the page. And the only way to fix it is to put the wrong words down and then fix it, of course. But we all have that, kind of, to some degree. We don't want to commit. Well, so I know the experience and the value in that experience, and when you're creative in one area, it helps you to be creative in another area. And remember what I said before, when you're being creative, it's so hard to be depressed. And this is a real depressing time for all of us. So to open up your creative juices a little bit is a really good exercise to help get your mind off your depressed world. Okay, whatever is depressing you, the pandemic or the winter coming or whatever. So, this exercise by Arwen, I thought was a really fun exercise. I started doing it myself, like probably last summer. I started. Or did I start this? Yes, this past summer, this past spring. I don't even know what year it is, not last summer, in 2020. I thought that would help me. And I just want to show you a few examples of what I mean, because these are not meant to be published poems. These are poems only for yourself. And it came in I did 2. I can show you, I'm going to give you 3 examples, because some of them, my very first attempt was really kind of, it was very funny. My first 2 attempts were pretty horrible. But the one that I just did, I really liked, and I'll tell you why I showed it. I just did one with using the Santa Muerte deck. But what I did was I pulled, every time I have a card of the year, and my card of the year was Temperance. And so I did 2 occasions of pulling the Temperance card, but I pulled them from different decks. And I want to say that I particularly like this because Temperance is one of those cards. We all have these cards that we sort of go, I don't know about that card. A card doesn't just have this stand-outness. It doesn't seem that important to me. To me, it's important, but if we had to take one card and lose from a deck, Temperance might be one of the ones I lose, because I think the messages of Temperance come up in a lot of other ways, at least to me, in the deck. So to find some uniqueness to Temperance, that sounds so terrible. That sounds terrible to say. But I always have struggled with that card just a little bit. When I look at it, I go, what does it mean in this situation, in a reading? So I thought it was appropriate that I try with Temperance Card first to see what happens. And the first one I did, I don't even know what deck this is from. I got the image off of the internet, and I liked it because well, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. She's all dressed. She's completely dressed. And she's not nude in any place, but it looks very much from the painting, from the illustration, that she is nude where her boobs are. It looks like her bare boobs are sticking out, which maybe she is, but I don't think she really is. So there's a shadow. That's the shadow from my camera above. I'm sorry. There. But her it's like her boobs are like just there. But it doesn't even make sense that it could be clothes and then bareness on her boobs. I don't know why it's like that. Other than to emphasize that she's a woman. But for this one, I did a simple haiku. This is my first one. I thought, oh, haiku, I'll do a haiku because a haiku is 3 lines and it's syllables, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables. So that you're given this structure that you have to do those many syllables. And sometimes it's easier when you have structure to do that. So I wrote for the haiku, water flows freely, perky boobs do not run free, stiff wings will not fly. Now, I'm not bragging about my poetry skills. But you see what I'm saying? The water, I thought about the water, I thought about the wings, and I thought about the boobs. And when I said water flows freely, and then I said perky boobs do not run free, because they're perky and they don't flop around in the wind or whatever like mine do. But then I said, that led me to the line, stiff wings will not fly. And I think the line, stiff wings will not fly, really gives me a little new insight into the Temperance Card. I'm not sure. Do you get it? You don't get it? I don't know. I don't care. It's my book. I just want to show you, I wasn't putting a lot of thought into it when it happened. The second time I tried to do this card, I used the Temperance Card again, and this time I used the Bonfire Tarot. The Bonfire. And, with the illustrations of like tattoo art kind of thing. Very not overly done. They're just so busy with illustrations to me. I like the deck, but it's just really hard to read sometimes because there's too much to look at. Too much. And I found 9 words from that. Here's the picture. I'll show you first. This is the Temperance Card right here. It's a copy of the Temperance Card. And the Bonfire. And I found the words to me that stood out. Wine, of course, that would be number 1. Ice, splash, flowers, bounty, balance, delicious, between, and comfortable. And, it just didn't play to me. It didn't play to me. So I wrote a limerick, but not a dirty one. You don't have to go away. It's not dirty. But another, again, everybody knows a limerick, the form of a limerick. If you don't, you've never read Playboy magazine that you found in your brother's closet, your older brother's closet when you were a girl. Okay. But anyway, most of them that I've ever heard were dirty, but they're just not dirty, and they don't have to be. I don't know. I just think that. Okay, so I just wrote, and I didn't know how many words I used. I used wine, ice, that's all I used. Because I didn't get anything from the illustration. You'll see. This is my poem. It's my limerick. There once was a lady so fine, who filled up her glass with iced wine. At the end of the day, she had little to say, but her message was fraught by design. Too much design, too much to look at. You know, I'm thinking, oh, she's got tattoos going up her legs, and there's a lot going on in the picture. I just couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over it, and her hands seemed so freakishly huge to me, and I didn't want to say anything about her hands. So that was a little difficult for me, but I tried. The point is I tried. I really spent time with the picture, looked at the picture. Now this one I just did. I want to skip because I want to just show you this one, which I did in October with the Santa Muerte deck. And this is the Ace of Cups. And I'll show you. It might be easier for you to see the cards, but whatever. I'll show you. This is a picture of the card. The Ace of Cups. The skull face. You see his heart-shaped. And you can't help but to notice his heart-shaped eyes. They're heart-shaped, so how scary can that be? And his grin, it makes his grin, his skeleton grin, skull grin, look almost friendly, doesn't it? We see the black sky, and it's raining, and it's overflowing in the cup, and my words that I chose were fill, quench, transform, watchfulness, sign, dragonfly, clouds, waiting, and rain. Okay. And the thing that struck me is, looking at this card, I very quickly saw filling, because the card, you know, typical Ace of Cups, the water splashing out the top, it's really filling up that cup. Quenching, the land around it is rocky land, dry land. Excuse me. The land around it is rocky, dry land, which is now like you can see pools of water laying on the land. So it's drinking up the rain, transforming it. Watchfulness, the big eyes, the hard eyes. Sign, the dragonfly. When I see a dragonfly, that's a sign, right? The clouds, the black clouds towering over the head. Waiting. I got the feeling, waiting, and rain. Very simple. So this is what I wrote. Oh, what I want to say first was, in looking at the picture, trying to find 9 things to write about this picture, I noticed the clouds, I noticed the rain very much, I noticed the quenching, I got the feeling of quenching and filling and things, and of course the dragonfly. But what I just noticed in looking at it this time, there's a little frog. There's a little frog perched on a little rock back in here. I know you can't see it on this light, but it's there. It's a little green frog sitting there, just sitting there. And all the times I looked at that card, I never noticed that little frog sitting there because he kind of blends in with the rocks. So this exercise took me to the little frog for some reason. I didn't write him down, but the more I looked, you know, I just didn't mention the frog in one of my 9 words. Okay, but I mentioned it in my poem because I'm a rule breaker. Here's my poem, and this is just a free-form poem. It has no meter, no form like a limerick or a haiku or anything. It's just free-form. Waiting, watching, welcoming the waters to transform what was once parched and dry, now wet with wonder. With the promised rain, the dragonfly comes to share this wonder with a watchful frog. Dark clouds release their fill to the land to quench and restore, and eyes once blind now see. Now you see, that was fun for me. That was fun because I got a feeling. I got a new feeling for maybe the Ace of Cups. I got a new, you know, where the Ace of Cups, we read, oh my goodness, you know, when you're a new tarot reader, the aces are the easy ones, right? Everybody got an ace. Everybody, oh, I get the ace. It's a new kind of a beginning of what? A beginning of what? Right? The beginning of, if it's a sword, it's an idea, or the beginning of some kind of a communication, maybe a message. If it's a you know, if it's a Queen of Ace of Pentacles, maybe it's a new job or a new home or whatever, right? What if it's an Ace of Cups, right? What if it's an Ace of Cups? What if it's an Ace of Cups? a new love or a new relationship or new whatever. Well, here, the blind eyes now see. It's intuition. It's some kind of a new idea. It's a new feeling, new intuition coming into me. I agree with that. Oh, I want to thank Arwen. I know she's not listening, but I really want to thank her for this exercise. I think this is terrifically fun. You don't have to be a poet, but it's a really great way. Sometime, if you get a card, especially a card with a lot of illustrations on it, or a different illustration, like if you're used to reading one deck of cards and you get a new deck, this is a great way to get to know a new deck, especially with some of the cards that have a little bit of an interesting, a little different maybe connotation. Don't be so tied to what it says in the book. This is just enhancing your understanding of the card. It's not changing your mind about the card. It's just giving you another layer. It's just another layer of these wonderful, wonderful cards of the tarot. Let me know if you try it out. It was really fun. And thanks for watching. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.